It's episode 10! Now, I'm not gonna do one of those emotionally draining speeches again. I'm just gonna cook food. It's gonna be fun. It's still nostalgia food though, so buckle up because today we're gonna make some dirty dumplings! Dirty dumps, dirty dumps. Let's make some dirty dumps.
Are you a uni student or an early professional with no real time, money, or skills? You've come to the right goddamn place. Welcome to The Bad Chef. Fast and cheap meals for fast and cheap people. My name is Chi and I'm the Bad Chef.
A lot of people get a bit wanky about the sanctity of traditional Chinese dumplings. And I kinda get it. Dumplings are somewhat an art form that's been exported from the Far East to the rest of the world, and how you make your dumplings communicates a real cultural significance that's been steeped in thousands of years of history. But as significant as a history is, I think the most important part of a dumpling is what it stands for. Because making dumplings is a pretty labor-intensive process, but people still do it. Because it brings family and friends together, and you can have a proper chat about literally anything while you're making your dumplings. And to me, that's the point of a dumpling. It's about getting people together and talking shit with the added bonus of having something really tasty at the end of it to eat. So who cares that your dumplings look like a 5-year-old's Play-Doh creation? The fact that you messed about a bit with your friends and the fact that you still have something very edible at the end of it is good enough for me. And of course, your ugly dumpling might not have the pleats that hold sauce optimally, but the uptight foodie wanker who's apologizing on behalf of my culture isn't making any friends. Well, you are. So fuck that guy. Anyway, let's talk about dumplings. Now, before we begin, the idea of a traditional dumpling is innately flawed because each regional culture has its own little nuances in how they make their dumplings, so there's no one true dumpling, so to speak. In a sense, how you make a dumpling tells other people where you're from, but nowadays, because we're so globalized, where we come from matters a bit less, and instead, our handmade dumplings should tell someone else a little bit about yourself. It's kind of like your handwriting. It's important to put a bit of your personality into it. And you can tailor it. Everything about the dumpling is customizable, from the filling to the frills. I mean, for the fillings, of course, you can have your pork and chive combo, classic combination, but there are types that use prawns or chestnuts or taro or wood ear mushrooms or eggs as a base. And then there's the skins. If you're not making your own, you'll usually purchase some that are either circular or square, in either the wonton style yellow skin or the Gaudi style white skin. Then there's the pleats. Of course, you can be super OCD and like measure out all the folds perfectly, or you can be fast and loose with artistic intuition. Or you can be absolute dog shit, it doesn't really matter that much. Even the condiments that you eat it with. Of course, you could use it with sweet soy sauce, like an absolute guaylo, but if you have black vinegar with chili oil, that's a real ace of spades here. Otherwise, there's sriracha and red vinegar or chili oil or sesame oil with chili flakes. There's ginger and spring onion oil, there's lao gan ma, there's XO sauce, even bloody Worcestershire sauce as a weird form of Anglo-Hong Kong expression. But whatever you do, it's yours. And don't let anybody take that away from you. But if you need square one to start on, I'm happy to show you the bog standard one that I make. And my one's going to be a conventional pork and chive one, but I'm going to add some shiitake mushrooms for a little bit of that extra fucking umami! Nice! Anyway, let's start off with the filling.
The filling is easy, just mix a bunch of shit together. And that's going to be 500 grams of fatty pork, 500 grams of lean pork, 8 to 10 shiitake mushrooms diced, a teaspoon of cornstarch to make it smooth, 1 egg to help it bind, a pinch of salt, a dab of oyster sauce, a lash of sesame oil, 4 large minced garlic cloves, a little ginger, and of course, 1 bunch of Chinese chives.
Alright, Chinese chives. They're a bit like Western chives, but they've got a flat leaf and they taste a hell of a lot more garlicky. And as a result, they're also called garlic chives for that reason. If you can't be bothered going to an Asian mart to find Chinese chives, you could use spring onion with a whack of crushed garlic. It won't be the same, but it'll be a bit closer than using actual Western chives. Also, I usually use full lean pork mince, just to be a bit healthier. But as a result, the filling won't be as smooth and it'll be a bit tighter as well. So today, I'm using half and half. I'm making no compromises for taste.
At this point, we're ready to wrap.
All right, let's get rapid. Get yourself a stack of dumpling skins and also a bowl of water. Now, I'm using the shiitake water from before. You don't have to, you can just use clean water, it's fine. But the purpose of that is to wet the pastries with. And the reason why we want to do that is because it's got a bit of starch in it, right? And that starch, when it dissolves, it acts kind of like a glue to stick the surfaces together. So that's what the water's for. Now, wrapping is a place where people get the most nervous about making dumplings. Don't be. Anything really goes, to be honest. So if you're not that confident, you could just make it a half moon and just stick the sides together like this. Done, like that. Look, if you're a fan of cross-cultural pollination, you can make something like a ravioli, which is just two of the circles stuck together, and you use a fork just to push it down a little bit as you turn it. And yeah, there you go. You'll have this weird Italian-looking dumpling. Like that. What a novelty. But if you want regular-looking potsticker style dumplings, let me show you how. First, get a dumpling skin, right? And get the flour-less side facing upwards. Get a conservative amount of dumpling filling. Just put that right in the center. And then get some of the water and wet the circumference of your dumpling skin. Now, fold everything up into like a half taco sort of looking thing. And then get a little bit more water and just put that on the edge, because that's where our pleats are going to be, right? Now, this is how you do the pleat. First, squeeze this together and then use the back of your thumb to sort of make an S shape with the skin. And when the pleat is about to be set, just push it down until it sticks to itself. Then, use this curvature of your thumb to space out where the next pleat is supposed to be. And then use the back of your thumb to make that S shape again, squeeze it down. Pack the filling down a little bit. Space it out, make the S shape, squeeze it down. Like, of course you'll be a bit clunky if you're doing this for the first time, but you'll develop a rhythm for it really quickly, so you'll be fine in a few dumplings time. So don't worry about it so much. And here we go. That's another dumpling done. Look at my beautiful little babies. They're so gorgeous. Right, the reason why we make them in this shape, well, first and foremost is because they look pretty. But there's actually a bit of engineering behind this. The first reason being that this shape tessellates really well, so you could fit a lot on a pan and cook many at once. The second reason why we have pleats is that they hold sauce really well, so when you dip it in something, it traps the sauce and conjures up all the flavors of that condiment. And the third reason is that if you sit them vertically on a pan, you get a really nice crispy bottom and a beautifully steamed top, so it cooks really well. Yeah, speaking of crispy bottoms though, I reckon it's about time to get cooking. Right, when it comes to cooking dumplings, there are three main ways that you can cook them. You can either boil them, steam them, or fry them. Now, boiling and steaming is super easy. You just chuck them in the medium of your choice and blast them for about 6 to 7 minutes until they're done. But I'm here to learn you a thing or two about frying a dumpling, because if you've ever cooked a dumpling and the base has just become charcoal and the top's still raw, let me show you how it's done.
First, heat up some oil in a non-stick pan. Place the dumplings into the pan with the pleats facing upwards, then gently pour water into the pan until the water reaches roughly halfway up the dumpling. Cover with a lid, then cook on high until all the water has evaporated. At this point, only the oil should be left in the pan with the dumplings. So turn the heat down to medium and fry the dumplings to a golden brown perfection. To check if they're done, give the pan a bit of a shake or nudge it with a utensil. And if they unseat easily to reveal a golden brown bottom, that's a perfectly cooked dumpling.
You know what? I've actually got a little bit more to film after this, but I'm hungry at the moment because I just cooked a batch and they smell good. So the condiments that I'm using today, I'm using some black vinegar, and I'm using also some of this chili oil that was gifted to me by a friend. If you remember Mel from episode 12 last season. So I'm gonna do that. Holy shit, dude. Now, there's a slightly fancier thing that you could do to your dumplings, and that is to give it a sexy little lace skirt. Scandalous, right? All that it is just a batter made with cornstarch and water, and you pour that in while the dumplings are cooking. So that when all the water evaporates, it leaves behind this cornstarch layer that crisps up to be golden brown and beautiful. And that's what the skirt is made of. Now, for the batter, there's a lot of different recipes with a lot of different ratios. And since it's a little bit more technical as well, you might have to do a little bit of trial and error before you get there. Right, so after a bit of trial and error, I found out that the correct ratio for me was 1 level teaspoon of cornstarch for every 8 dumplings that you cook. So if you're cooking 16 dumplings in a larger pan, you use 2 level teaspoons of cornstarch. Now, the amount of water that you can use, strangely enough, doesn't matter that much, so long as you're using an excess, because we're going to be evaporating all the water off anyway, it doesn't matter that much. But yeah, start from there. 1 level teaspoon per 8 dumplings, and if you want to light a skirt, just ease up on the cornstarch. Come on. You know it tastes good. You know that I know that it tastes good. Well, you know what? Tasting good is only one side of the story, and I don't think that's the entire point of this dumpling.
Like I said at the start, the point of making a dumpling is to bring people together, so instead of being laborious, it becomes more of a therapeutic thing. Especially after the lockdowns over the past couple of years, just being there with your friends, it carries so much more weight, even though you're not actively creating new memories. It's the same for your family as well. You know what? I hazard a guess that the Asian parents who make dumplings together, they have a lower divorce rate just because they sit together and communicate while making food.
Call it marriage counseling by dumpling. And that, at roughly $26 for 90 dumplings, is about 10 times cheaper than marriage counseling, which is $260 for 90 minutes. So how's that for bang for buck? But suppose you don't need marriage counseling or therapy, a dumpling is just a very friendly way of telling somebody a little bit about yourself. I mean, if I want to make friends with you, the first thing that I want to do is to show you my weird interracial gangbang of a cultural identity. And the best way that I could do that is through food. So I will cook you a fundamentally Asian dumpling, but using Western tools. Kind of like how I speak Cantonese with an Australian accent. It's kind of gross actually, but it is what it is. And if you make a dumpling, I don't care if you make it like a guailo. The fact that you're making dumplings with me to learn about my culture on the grounds of my friendship is more than I can say for any of these SJWs who scream cultural appropriation while white knighting something that doesn't need to be defended. Nah, screw that. Make dumplings with me. I'll join you in making pierogies, and hopefully I wouldn't butcher your empanadas too much. We're all here at the end of the day just to enjoy some tasty ass filling wrapped in some tasty ass dough. Life is too short to be outraged by everything all the time. Anyway, this was dumplings. Done.